Ladies and gentlemen, listen up. Today, I'm going to talk to you about something real, something that can change the way you move through life. It's simple, but it's powerful. Focus on yourself and let silence do the talking. Too many people spend their lives looking for validation from others. They want approval, applause, a pat on the back. They want somebody to tell them they're doing the right thing, moving in the right direction. But the problem with seeking validation is that it puts your success in somebody else's hands. You end up living for opinions instead of purpose, and that right there is a dangerous way to go through life. When you constantly seek validation, you give people power over you. You let their words decide how you feel about yourself. If they praise you, you feel good. If they criticize you, you start doubting yourself. That's no way to live. You have to know who you are without needing anybody to confirm it for you. You have to believe in your dreams even when nobody else does. The truth is, people will always have something to say. No matter what you do, there's always going to be someone who doubts you, questions you, or straight up doesn't support you. Some people won't clap for you just because it's you. It's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just that your success makes them uncomfortable. It reminds them of what they're not doing. And if you're waiting for them to validate you before you move forward, you'll be stuck forever. Seeking validation also slows you down. Every time you stop to ask for approval, you waste time that could have been spent making progress. Instead of acting on your ideas, you hesitate. Instead of trusting your instincts, you second guess yourself. You keep looking around wondering what everybody else thinks, when the only thing that really matters is what you think. Another thing about validation, sometimes it's not even real. People will tell you what you want to hear, but they don't mean it. They'll hype you up to your face and tear you down behind your back. If you're basing your confidence on their words, you'll be on an emotional roller coaster. 1 minute you're up, the next you're down. That's why your belief in yourself has to come from within. It can't be built on compliments, because the moment those compliments stop, you'll start feeling lost. You gotta learn to move without applause. You gotta be okay with working in silence, grinding in the dark, building when nobody's watching. Some of the greatest success stories started with people who were overlooked, doubted, and underestimated. But they didn't stop to convince people, they just kept going. And one day, the same folks who ignored them had no choice but to pay attention. People respect results, they respect consistency, they respect somebody who believes in themselves without needing permission. That's why the most successful people don't spend their time trying to prove anything, they just show up and do the work. They don't waste time arguing with doubters or explaining themselves to critics. They stay locked in, focused on their craft, because they know that real validation doesn't come from words, it comes from achievement. When you let go of the need for validation, you become unstoppable. You stop moving based on what other people expect and start moving based on what you know you're meant to do. You stop looking for confirmation and start creating your own opportunities. You stop waiting to be told you're good enough and start showing the world what you're capable of. The moment you realize you don't need validation is the moment you take control of your life. You stop chasing approval and start chasing greatness. And that's when everything changes. Too many people spend their time talking about what they're going to do instead of actually doing it. They announce every move before they even take the first step, looking for recognition before results. But the truth is, success doesn't come from telling people your plans. It comes from putting in the work when nobody is watching. If you really want to make something happen, stop talking about it. When you constantly share your goals, dreams, and ambitions with everyone, you open the door for unnecessary opinions. Some people will pretend to support you while secretly hoping you fail. Others will project their own fears onto you, telling you why it won't work, why it's too risky, why you should play it safe. The more you listen to outside voices, the more doubt creeps in, and before you know it, you're questioning yourself instead of executing. That's why the best thing you can do is put your head down and get to work. When you're truly focused, you don't have time to explain yourself. You're too busy learning, growing, building, and improving. You don't need to tell people you're grinding because your results will show it. You don't need to convince anyone that you're working hard because your progress will make it obvious. The most successful people don't move for validation, they move for results. And when those results start stacking up, there won't be a need for explanations. People respect action, they respect discipline, they respect consistency. They might doubt you in the beginning, they might not take you seriously at first, but when they start seeing what you've built, what you've accomplished, what you've created, they won't have a choice but to acknowledge it. That's the power of letting your work speak for itself. The problem with talking too much about your plans is that it creates a false sense of accomplishment. When you tell people what you're about to do and they respond with excitement, it tricks your mind into feeling like you've already done something. That little boost of validation feels good, but it doesn't get the work done. It doesn't bring you any closer to your goal. And when that initial excitement fades, all you're left with is the realization that you're still in the same place. Real growth happens in silence. When you're locked in, focused, and committed, there's no need for outside noise. You wake up, you put in the effort, you refine your skills, you make mistakes, you learn from them, and you keep going. There's no need for constant updates, no need for approval, no need for validation, just pure dedication to the process. People will notice the change in you. They'll see the way you carry yourself differently. They'll see the way your results start speaking for themselves. And when they ask how you did it, you won't need to say a word, because everything they see will tell them exactly what they need to know. Talking about your goals doesn't make them happen. Sharing every move you make doesn't guarantee success. The only thing that matters is the work, the effort, the grind. When you focus on the work instead of the announcement, you separate yourself from the people who just talk about what they're going to do. You become the person who actually does it. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you can use in life. People underestimate it because they think success has to be loud, flashy, and in everybody's face. They think they need to announce their every move, prove their worth, and respond to every doubter. But real power isn't in how much noise you make, it's in how much impact you create. And the ones who truly understand this move differently. They don't waste time trying to convince people. They don't argue with critics. They don't explain themselves. They let their work, their results, and their discipline do all the talking. Most people talk too much. They share their dreams, their struggles, their plans, and their frustrations with anybody who will listen. They feel like they have to prove something to the world. But the truth is, the more you talk, the more you expose yourself to unnecessary opinions. Some people will discourage you just because they don't want to see you win. Others will pretend to support you but secretly hope you fail. And some will take your ideas and run with them before you even get started. That's why silence is so important. It protects your energy, your vision, and your momentum. When you move in silence, you don't give people the opportunity to interfere with your progress. You don't allow their doubts, negativity, or jealousy to creep into your mind. You stay focused on your goals, unaffected by the noise around you. The less you say, the more people wonder. The less you reveal, the more unpredictable you become. And in a world where everyone is quick to share, there's strength in keeping things to yourself. Silence also builds mystery. When people don't know what you're up to, they start paying closer attention. They watch your moves, trying to figure you out. They wonder how you're making progress without announcing every step. That curiosity gives you an advantage. It keeps you in control. Because while they're busy trying to guess your next move, you're already 10 steps ahead. Another thing about silence, it makes people uncomfortable. When someone expects a reaction from you, but you give them nothing, it throws them off. When people try to provoke you, but you don't engage, it frustrates them. And when doubters expect you to fail, but you just keep winning without saying a word, it forces them to acknowledge your success. That's the power of silence. It shifts the energy. It forces people to respect you even if they don't want to. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most powerful. They're usually the most insecure, trying to prove something. But the person who moves quietly, who listens more than they speak, who observes more than they react, that's the one in control. They don't waste energy on unnecessary battles. They don't let their emotions dictate their actions. They stay focused, disciplined, and strategic. Moving in silence doesn't mean you don't have confidence. It means you don't need validation. It means you're secure enough in your journey that you don't have to broadcast it. You understand that real success doesn't need a microphone. It doesn't need a speech. It doesn't need an announcement. It just needs consistency, discipline, and time. And when all of that comes together, the results will be so loud that silence is the only thing left. Discipline is the key that separates those who dream from those who achieve. It's the difference between people who talk about success and people who actually live it. Everybody wants to be great. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants the rewards, but very few people are willing to do what it takes consistently. The ones who do, they understand that discipline is not about what you feel like doing. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Discipline means showing up every single day, not just on the days when motivation is high. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline stays. Motivation is easy when everything is exciting and new, but what happens when the excitement fades? What happens when the process gets tough? When progress slows down? When the results aren't coming as fast as you want? That's where most people give up. That's where they lose focus, start making excuses, and start looking for shortcuts. But discipline keeps you moving forward, no matter what. A disciplined person doesn't rely on mood, energy, or outside circumstances to determine their actions. They've already made the decision that they are going to do what it takes. If it means waking up early, they wake up early. If it means staying up late, they stay up late. If it means sacrificing distractions, they make the sacrifice. They don't wait until they feel like it because they understand that feelings are temporary, but results come from consistency. Discipline is what makes the difference between potential and achievement. There are millions of talented people in this world who never reach their full potential because they lack discipline. Talent alone is never enough. You can be the most gifted person in the world, but if you're not willing to put in the work every day, you always be outperformed by the person who is. Discipline beats talent when talent refuses to work hard. One of the biggest distractions in today's world is comparison. Too many people are watching what everybody else is doing instead of focusing on themselves. They waste time scrolling through social media, looking at other people's success, feeling frustrated because they're not there yet. But success isn't built by watching other people. It's built by locking in on your own journey. The more you focus on what others are doing, the less energy you have to build something for yourself. Discipline means keeping your eyes on your own lane, sticking to your own plan, and blocking out the noise. Discipline is also about making the right choices even when nobody's watching. It's easy to stay committed when people are cheering you on, when you're getting recognition, when the results are showing. But what about the times when nobody sees the effort? What about the moments when the work is hard, the progress is slow, and it feels like nobody cares? That's where real discipline is tested. That's when you find out who really wants it and who's just pretending. The most successful people in the world aren't the ones who had the easiest path. They're the ones who stayed disciplined even when things got tough. They pushed through the struggles, ignored the distractions, and stayed consistent when others gave up. They understood that discipline isn't a one-time decision, it's a way of life. It's a commitment to the process. No matter how long it takes, no matter how many obstacles show up, it's about choosing long-term success over short-term comfort every single day. Doubt is something that every person chasing success will face. It comes in many forms. Sometimes it's your own mind questioning if you have what it takes. And sometimes it's the voices of others telling you that you won't make it. Doubters come disguised as friends, family members, co-workers, and even strangers who don't know anything about you but feel the need to give their opinion. They'll tell you that your dream is too big, that it's unrealistic, that you should play it safe. If you listen to them, you'll start shrinking yourself to fit their expectations. But the truth is, their doubts have nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. People doubt others because they can't see past their own limitations. They project their fears onto you, assuming that if they can't do it, neither can you. They've accepted mediocrity for themselves, so they try to convince you to do the same. Some of them mean well, thinking they're protecting you from failure, while others simply don't want to see you succeed. Either way, none of it matters. Their opinions don't define your potential. Their doubts don't control your destiny. The only thing that matters is what you believe about yourself The biggest mistake people make is trying to argue with doubters, trying to convince them to believe in their vision. That's a waste of time. You don't need to explain your dreams to people who don't have the capacity to understand them. You don't need approval from those who have never built anything for themselves. Instead of wasting energy debating with them, use that energy to prove them wrong through action. Let your work do the talking. Let your success be the response. Ignoring doubters isn't always easy, especially when the voices come from people close to you. But this is where you have to be strong. You have to remind yourself why you started. You have to understand that the path to success is often lonely because most people aren't willing to take the journey. They rather stay in their comfort zones, and they want you to stay there with them. But you weren't made for that. You weren't made to settle for average. You weren't made to live based on someone else's fears. One thing about doubters is that they always watch. They might not support you, they might not believe in you, but they'll be paying attention. Some will wait for you to fail just so they can say, "I told you so." Others will start changing their tune once they see you winning. The same people who doubted you in the beginning will suddenly act like they always knew you had it in you. That's why it's pointless to take their opinions seriously. If you let their doubts stop you, you'll never get to the point where they have no choice but to respect you. You have to be your own biggest believer. You have to trust your vision even when nobody else does. You have to keep going even when the path isn't clear, even when the results aren't showing yet. The journey is full of ups and downs. But the only people who truly fail are the ones who give up because of outside noise. Every great success story is built on perseverance, on pushing forward despite the critics, on staying focused when others try to distract you. When you stop worrying about who doubts you, you free yourself to move without fear. You stop looking for permission, stop hesitating, stop letting outside voices control your decisions. That's when you become unstoppable. That's when you step into your full potential. That's when you prove that the only opinion that ever mattered was your own. Patience is one of the hardest things to master, but it's also one of the most important. In a world where everybody wants instant success, quick results, and overnight achievements, patience is what separates the ones who make it from the ones who quit too soon. Real success takes time. It doesn't happen in a straight line. It doesn't happen on your schedule, and it definitely doesn't happen just because you want it to. It happens when you put in the work, stay consistent, and trust the process, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Most people fail not because they aren't capable, but because they give up too early. They expect things to happen fast, and when they don't, they get frustrated. They start questioning if they're on the right path. They compare themselves to others, wondering why someone else is winning while they're still struggling. They start looking for shortcuts, hoping there's a way to speed things up. But there's no shortcut to real success. If you rush the process, you ruin the result. If you quit too soon, you never see what was waiting for you on the other side of patience. Patience isn't about sitting around waiting for things to happen. It's about staying committed even when you don't see immediate results. It's about showing up every day, putting in the work, and trusting that everything you're doing is leading you somewhere.